Attribution theory is the theory that individuals are motivated to discover the underlying causes of their own behavior and performance. Factors that are used as explanations for both success or failure include locus, stability, and controllability. Locus can be both internal or external, either attributable to ourselves or to the environment. A student may explain an outcome based on stability, whether the specific factors, such as note-taking, produce consistent results. Finally, explanations can be either controllable or uncontrollable as perceived by the student. We interviewed 3 Worcester students to determine what they attribute success and failure to in classes they were both highly motivated in and not motivated in.
Okay.
Well, a class in which I had low motivation would be Music Theory 1.
I'm thinking about my anthropology class.
I probably wasn't highly motivated in biology.
Attribute that to not spending lots of time with the material, and the teacher was extremely rude and tried to tell me how to behave.
The lack of motivation to do, I guess, the work I needed to do to get a good grade.
Probably not understanding a concept fully. I didn't think the professor really could help me or any of the students to explain more. Really, if you were confused, the professor really didn't help you to clarify things. So it was much more self-taught. So if you were already confused, you just kind of stayed the way you were.
And when I did well, I would attribute that to spending lots of time with the material.
When I did well on a paper, it was either because the paper or test was easy. I studied as much as I possibly could.
Studying a lot because I thought it was hard, and just working a lot at it.
In general, in classes that students had low motivation in, both poor and good performance were attributed to a mixture of external and internal factors. When they performed poorly in these classes, the students commented that both the teaching and themselves were at fault. Similarly, when they performed well, they reported good grades being a result of both putting in effort as well as the assignment being easy.
Well, a class that I was highly motivated in was audiology.
Imperial presidency and the Constitution.
My food systems class for environmental studies.
And when I did well, I would attribute that to my professor being super awesome and interested in the material. And I was interested in the material, but also I had time to look at it.
I guess hard work, just putting in a lot of effort, thinking about
I probably attribute to thinking about the topics a lot outside of class because I find them so interesting. So I read a lot. I always do the assignments, obviously, but then I like to think about it in general. So I spend a lot of time.
And when I did poorly, I would attribute that to not having time to look at the material.
Either misunderstanding of the instructions or the instructions not being specific enough to guide me in the correct direction.
Okay.
Probably attribute to the professor just being he's very specific and very picky, and he has certain criteria that he's looking for.
Students generally, in classes in which they were highly motivated, attributed poor performance to external factors such as lack of time, pickiness of the professor, and misunderstanding. In situations in which they did well, students attributed performance to more internal factors such as hard work or interest in the material.
Additionally, students reported that they felt low levels of control and stability in classes in which they had little motivation as opposed to those in which they had high motivation. We, as researchers, speculate that this lack of control and stability can be attributed, in some situations, to student opinions of the professor. A high level of control and stability were reported for classes in which students had high motivation. This could also possibly be attributed to interesting or invested professors as well as an interest in the material. In conclusion, our results showed that in high motivation situations, poor performance is generally attributed to something external of the student, while good performance is attributed to something internal. Interestingly, we discovered that attributions in low motivation classes were both external and internal for poor and good performance. Stability and control followed the general pattern that higher fillings of both of these generally coincided with higher motivation.